Ooh, another day, another brew. Today, quite a simple brew. I've missed out a bit of filling the HLT. You've seen all that before. We have the Herms going, and we have 5 kilograms of basic Pilsner malt, which we're trying to stick around 65-ish, 64.8 at the moment with the Herms kicking in, so 65. In there, mash it for an hour, and I'm giving it lots of stirs because I'm trying to increase the brew house efficiency. The pH in there at the moment is 5.4. Ooh, how good's that? Without me having to muck around very much with it. And then we're going to boil it for an hour with some sans hops, and I'll put a hop schedule up somewhere here or whatever. So it's going to be one of those fairly boring videos that you've seen me do this so many times before. So I'll try and keep it short and sweet and show you the garden. Regular viewers will be aware of a recent question posed regarding what looked like to be stinging nettles, and for a method of scientific process and sleuth-like deduction, we have ascertained that they were indeed stingy nettles, which have now been removed. And I was thinking of making a nettle beer, but you know what? We're not short of nettles in this country, so these can go to add to the biodiversity of the canal. Why am I wearing welding gloves? Because they were stingy nettles. So there we are, all nice and cleared down the side of the wharf. And in future I will adopt the philosophy of, if they look like nettles, they're nettles. Oh, by the way, the scientific deduction was that Charlotte stung herself. That's as good as any other method of ascertaining whether they're nettles or not. Right, we are at that time. Oops. Oh, my fingers aren't working very well today, as you can tell. Lots of cleaning up with iodine to do. Right, let's have a look. Get that in the light. I might give that another 10 minutes, you know. Right. That's good. All it took was another 10 minutes and we were fine. But I didn't video it because I'm a prat. Anyway, transfer going. Throttled back on here. So it's going quite slowly. Have a look in here. Yep. Throttle it back a tiny little bit more. There's no prizes for speed. And we're getting ready for dispatch. Good. Now, oh dear. I ought to mention, I'm not firing on all sort of cylinders because for the last 6 days I've had a bad back. I put my back out. I don't know how. It wasn't doing any horizontal jogging or, you know, sex athletes or anything like that. It was unloading the dishwasher. How embarrassing is that? Now, if I was to say, you know, it's offering informal supervision to a group of postgraduates, then anyway, the not that I would ever do that, even when I was employed to do that. I wouldn't do it, not to do that. I wasn't employed to do that. Never mind. So, yeah, so I've been taking not massive painkillers, because the problem with taking painkillers, if you've injured your back or anywhere else, is it takes away the pain but it doesn't take away the injury, and you carry on as normal causing more damage. So I've taken enough painkillers to enable me to function, but still send me a little bit doolally because I'm not used to strong drugs like that anymore. Anyway, what have I done? We are gently emptying mash tun via my little filtration devices going into the whirlpool. What I will then be doing is sparging from the HLT, which I've set at 80 degrees, so I can give it quite a hot sparge, but gentle, if that makes sense. It's now, what is it, 2:30, so I reckon we'll be hitting the boil about 3 o'clock. So I'll come back when we're ready to hit the boil and chuck us first tops in, which I think is 46 grams of Saz. Right, back in a bit. Hey, running a bit behind schedule. It's 3:15, but we have the start of a boil. And what I'm going to do, as with last time, is scoop all this scummy stuff off the top so that it doesn't clog up the hop filter. Yes, going to use a hop filter. Oh! Right, I've scooped all of the scum off and steamed the lens of the camera up and chucked 46 gram of Saz in, and that smell immediately says Pilsner. Beautiful. Okay, we now have 45 minutes to wait. Chucking a protoflock, 5 minutes later, 19 grams of Saz, then at flame out another 19 gram of Saz. So it's going to be a bit boring, so I won't really film all that. Ooh, we're at flame out. We have another 19 grams of Saz. This really is the simplest of recipes. 5 kilograms of good Pilsner malt. Mash it in at 65 for an hour. Boil it for an hour. 49, so it wasn't, that's 46 grams of Saz at the start of the boil, 19 at 10 minutes and 19 at flame out. Let it sit for a bit and get the plate chiller ready. What I've done is very gradually allowed all of the air out of here, because as the air was going into the kettle it was disturbing the wort in there. So now I'm just going to let it settle a little bit so that any of the hop or other kettle chub sits on the bottom below where this tap is. There's nothing on the other side of this tap, no filter or anything. I think I've already said that. And then we're just going to run it through that filter. Looking at this, seems reasonably clear. So I'm just going to let it settle and then very slowly run it all through the plate chiller. What I do need to do is disconnect this and attach it one-handed, clever as I am, to the plate chiller. So we're now ready. Plate chiller's nice and cool. It's showing 26 at the moment. That's because there's nothing running through this PT100. So ever so slowly let some more air out. The air's now going to come out of here. So as gently as possible open this tap and we're starting to see the beer coming up here, going into the chiller, and this is purely by gravity now. That pump's not running at all. It'll start making its way through the chiller. Look, that seems pretty clear. And here we go, starting to work through the chiller. That's purely now gravity. And just as that starts coming through, this should now start dropping. Perfect. Now this ferments. This is a Y yeast, well, I can't remember. 278, something like that. Czech Pilsner, and it ferments at 12 degrees because it's lager yeast. So now that's getting a bit bubbly there, so I'm just going to restrict the flow a little bit because we don't want to disturb that trub too much. So we're restricting the flow into the plate chiller, and that will drop probably a little bit quicker now. No, it's not. Thanks a lot. Cheers for that. Yes. So ferments at 12 degrees. I've got a fridge ready over there. I'm going to chuck it in the fridge till this evening before I pitch the yeast. Bring the temperature inside down to probably somewhere nearer 16-ish, I should think. If it's going in at 21, you could pitch it that with this yeast. It's okay to pitch it that. How's that doing? That's all right. It's fairly clear. Odd little particles, tiny little particles. They'll get caught in here and here. This is the big filter. This is the tiny little filter, which is likely to get bunged up first. Yep, we've still got stuff going in there by the sound of it. Lovely. Right, now we wait until it's finished. It's not worked too bad on this one. There's still a litre or so, I reckon, in there. But okay, so let's turn the pump on. Well, that was interesting. I reckon there was a little bit of blockage just in the mouth there. So I'm just going to let that settle again for a second and then tilt it forward and let that fill up again. Yeah, it's a little bit sort of like coming through, look. So we're just going to let that do its ting. Actually, I should have put a side glass on the bottom as well. Might do that next time. Right, it's filling up again. So we'll let it fill up with whatever there is from here, and then we'll set the pump going again. We get the last little bits out of here. This is Yorkshire, you know. If I leave anything in there, I'll get fined. Okay, run the pump again. Oh, that's all right. Let's see if we get any more coming through. How are we doing? Oh, still a little bit more we could drain out of there. This is it's getting to be a bit of a challenge now. I need to grow up a little bit and accept a little bit of waste. I think enough is enough. I'm not even sure that will make it through the chiller. But we have got this small Y filter here, and I am going to flush this out in a minute. So let's just see if we can pull a little bit more. I mean, that just looks like trub to me. I'm not sure. I think I might be doing myself a disservice here. Let's pulled it through. No, I think we're wasting our time here. Oops, sorry. No, we're just going to have to accept there's some wastage. But you know, there's not much. In fact, if I take my block of wood out, that's right, I can live with that. As far as kettle trub goes, I've got an idea for putting this on a swivel. so it'll be a bit higher. Yeah, we'll see. That might never happen either. Right, how are we doing in here? That's not too bad. I can't read the scale on these, but right, there's 20 litres or so in there, I should think. Should I take that out in a jug, filter it through a jug? Oh, I don't think so. One thing I am going to do before I flush the plate chiller out, I don't know if you can see this, but oops, hang on, there you go. Alright, the water is flowing on the floor, but there's wat coming out of the chiller side. I should have put a cap on there, but that's alright. So there you go. I've just emptied all of the wat that was stuck inside plate chiller. There must have been at least another quarter of a litre. Right, this is now going to go in the fridge and start chilling down. I've got, I'm sure the yeast was something like 2278 or something. I've got it in here, cooling it down to separate a bit. What's that say? 2278, bloody hell. My unforgettery memory weren't too bad in that respect. Now is the ritual of flushing out the plate chiller. This was what came out of the hoses. That's what's left in kettle. You know what? Tough luck. No one's going to die over that. Right, start flushing the plate chiller out now. This is my little Heath Robinson setup for giving a good thorough clean of the plate chiller. First I fill this up with 20 litres, bring the water up to about 45 degrees, throw in some sodium hydroxide, caustic soda, and circulate it for a couple of hours, and then I reverse it. So I put the inlet here, whoops, here, and the outlet comes out of here, then back into the kettle. And this is it now going to the direction. So it gives it a flush both ways. Obviously there's no water needing to go through it at the moment. It's only on 44.67E, something like that. But what it does do is give it a thorough flush out. So remember, I've already flushed it with a caustic. This is now flushing it just with water, and it's still a fair amount of scum, which is still kind of like flushing out. Only kind of little particulates, but still don't want that in the final wat. After I've run this for about another 10 minutes, I will then drain it, check the pH, because this pH, I reckon, in here, even though it's water, after having cleaned everything down, that pH is still going to be quite high. So I'll refill it with water, give it another flush through, check the pH. As soon as the pH, after it comes out of here, matches the pH as it comes out of the tap, I'll consider it totally flushed and cleaned. This is the remains from the kettle. So even when settled, we're probably half a litre or something, maybe 3/4. I'm alright with that. The yeast is parting its company with the wat really well. The kettle's being flushed it out, cleaned it did. What about the hop filter? Well, there's 84 grams of hops. Now, That's not a huge amount of pellets, but as I always like to do, this is what it creates. It's a lot of slurry, and this hop filter has done very, very well at keeping this out of the wort. My concern is, does this really transfer into the wort as well as if it wasn't in here? And I don't know. That's going to be one of those ongoing questions. I did try putting a hose, so recirculating it instead of like through the whirlpool into here on one of the brews about 3 or 4 brews ago, and this just ended up filled up and it didn't go anywhere because all this got clogged up. But I think taking that beer stone out, scooping the scum out at the start of the boil, that probably helped, because that was foul looking stuff. I've just been inside to collect it. Really horrible. I'm not sure, I don't know, kind of like condensed shite proteins of some description, I should imagine. But once within the confines of the hop basket, turns into concrete. I mean, God knows what would happen. We ended up getting that all inside an expensive plate chiller. Right, this is all cleaned out. That is now happily cleaning. HLT getting ready for cleaning out the mash tun, and that's probably about it for today. Quite productive. My back's now starting, I think, to this is the stage now where I think I need to be a little bit cautious and not push my luck too much. So I'm going to clean the hop filter out. I'm just going to give it a bit of a hose down, and then have a shower and call it a day. But what a wonderful day. And that Pils now should be ready for the end of the month. We should have a nice easy drinking if we do have a late summer, and because I'm a bit worried the Bohemian Pils, that ain't gonna last. It's too nice. I've been smashing that the last few days. That has turned out gorgeous. So I think I've been quite lucky. Look at that. There's a fit bird walking down towpath. Look. I'm sorry, I get far too easily distracted. Right, Delilah, darling. I think that's it for the beer day, brew day, on the 7th of August 2020. If you enjoy this rather sort of disjointed nonsense, please feel free to subscribe. It'd be lovely to have you, and I should manage to get this up today on Friday. If you view it today, have a great weekend. Whatever you're doing, stay safe. Cheers.